Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Galacticum Primer, BECBOE 94, Introduction to Humanity, written by HeerThayrBeDragynns. I am Beggleton, the third-level documentarian for the Galacticum archives. I've been tasked with creating an informal introduction to our newest Galacticum members, humans. Tyrannosapiens Tyrannus horrificus. Humanity comes from a world far out on the edge of known space, in a region that doesn't offer much in the way of assets. This meant that the pre-FTL human homeworld, Earth, or Terra in their own language, was only visited by researchers, adventurers, and ne'er-do-wells. Early expeditions to Earth gained much data about the planet and its inhabitants. And due to the morbidity rate amongst Galacticum visitors, Earth gained a Hades 7 classification. A 7 on the Hades scale means that off-world visitors can expect a 70% mortality rate if they visit the surface of the planet. Some Galacticum scholars have opined that Earth should have a 9.95 on the Hades scale, based on the number of Galacticans who've returned missing appendages, suffering organ failure, or been afflicted with lifelong psychological trauma. Earth's biosphere is full of toxic chemicals, and it is considered a heavy gravity planet by the Galacticum. Here is a report from the early pre-FTL visit to Earth by the Dendrosapien members of the Galacticum for your perusal, demonstrating the danger Earth offers the unprepared Galacticum. Although it is better now that humanity has joined the Galacticum, they can offer accommodations if they know you're coming. When humans discovered FTL travel, and education was in order for everyone. Humans are evolved from a hunting species and are the apex predators of their home world. They breathe, eat, and drink rocket fuel and many other toxins that are heavily restricted amongst Galacticans. Humans are made primarily of H2O, which is also poisonous to a great many Galacticans, and have an endoskeleton made of rock. Their musculature is a type of unknown outside of humanity, and the way it attaches to the endoskeleton gives them extreme strength for beings their size. They are also fast. They are omnivores, and their jaws are equipped with mineral formations that, when the musculature is taken into account, allow them to eat/chew through many items that most Galacticans don't consider edible. They also exhibit a bite strength unimaginable to most galactic species. Their epidermis is very resilient, and they are able to withstand horrendous amounts of UV radiation before suffering any ill effects. Said ill effects are usually overcome with 3 to 5 of their homeworld standard rotations. Being as most humans are made mostly of H2O, mere proximity to them can be hazardous to some Galacticans. While contact is sure to put others into severe medical condition due to their diet and physiology. Humans exude a toxic cloud around them everywhere they go. They are a sentient biohazard zone to most all known galactic species. Humans are a contradictory species. The contradictory aspect of these sentient WMDs is that they're very compassionate and want to help others. Therefore, early on in their FTL adventures, they found that they needed to adopt some behaviors that would protect other species they interacted with. So came up with the social suit. This was basically a lightweight pressure suit that kept the human's toxic cloud away from other species during interactions. It is exceedingly rare to see an unsuited human outside of images or videos in the galactic worlds. On human curiosity. Human curiosity sometimes outruns their capacity for caution. This is one reason they've advanced so quickly for such a young species. Unless you are ready for the potentially life-changing consequences, keep this in mind when asking a human to help you figure something out. Humanity and Galacticum military service. As humans desired to be helpful to their new allied friends, many joined the Galacticum military and police forces. This situation did not last past 2 standard years for a few reasons. Humans are very goal-oriented and can get aggressive when attempting to achieve said goals. This led to many accidental training deaths due to humans simply not knowing their own strength. Once this became apparent, humans started leaving the military/police forces, and 2 years after humanity had begun enlistments, the majority were no longer serving. There remained a few special military units made up of nothing but humans. But the overall solution was the Terran military forces entered an agreement with the Galacticum for mutual support. Police agencies saw human consulting officers who'd work with and train, always demonstrating with another human, police in the various techniques humanity had learned. Incident on Alarian 9. A human scientist assigned to a research outpost on Alarian 9 had the habit of exposing himself to the local sun's UV rays. The veteran scientists had repeatedly warned him not to venture out from under the protected walkways of their compound. The Y behind the covered compounds flew down one day and grabbed the human, clad in nothing but a small bit of textile around his lower bifurcation, and carried him off. Alarian rocks were carnivorous, territorial avians as large as the average shuttlecraft, and were known to carry off just about any animal large enough to grab. The head scientist expressed dismay, as he'd have to submit another accidental report to his superiors, and since it was a human, a relatively new species to the Galacticum, probably extra paperwork would be involved. About an hour after the human had been killed, a ruckus arose at the eastern viewport. It seemed the rock was returning, with the human on its back, legs locked around the avian's midsection, and a headlock controlling the bird's flight. As the bird landed in the adjacent field, the human quickly jumped off, and the bird just as quickly flew away, and made his way back to the compound, none the worse for the experience. Needless to say, the older Galacticum species present were dumbstruck. The complete accounting of the situation, including raw audio and video incident reports and witness statements, may be found in the Galacticum Archive document
38B22B188-05BF-B77E-3D0466D60B13. Incident on Solon 7. The Solon 7 research outpost saw two humans join its group of Galactican scientists. Joe was a xenobotanist and Buster was a xenobiologist. Coincidentally, both were from Oklahoma region of Earth. One day, Joe was working on some gear in the perimeter of the camp when he heard a native herbivores arrive near his location. Joe certainly missed all the veteran Galactican scientists who'd been working outside rush back into the compound where they turned the observations drones on to the situation. Apparently, the local herbivores had a history of injuring/maiming Galacticum scientists, and whether the human had slept through the safety briefings or just didn't care, the veteran scientists were curious about how the human would interact with the herbivores. As the scientists watched from inside the compound, the elder herbivore sneaked behind and closed with Joe, and at last charged Joe and headbutted him halfway back to the compound. Joe lay flop-dolled in the middle of the field. As the scientists had seen this before, they left the drones on station to deter predators and all went back to work with the intention of recovering Joe's obviously dead body after dark. That's when the herbivores retreated. The observation console beeped due to the drones observing motion, and Havati, an avian species, stopped. What he was working on at the other end of the room ran over to be dumbfounded by what he saw on the display. Joe had gotten up, taken off his social suit, and was wandering around in circles, naked and singing something nonsensical. Round and round the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel, was clearly recorded by observation drones. Havati called some other scientists to watch, and the initial assessment was that Joe had suffered severe brain trauma and was obviously deranged. The herd of herbivores was still grazing at the far end of the field, but didn't seem too bothered by Joe's behavior as his random meanderings brought him closer and closer to them. Suddenly, Joe left a blur as he disappeared off the display. When the observation drones caught up to him a couple seconds later, he grabbed the aggressive herbivore by its breathing holes. The herbivore had retracted its ocular stalks and frozen in that species' sign of fear/submission, which the scientists were all in agreement with the logic of that decision, upon one finding a human attached to one's snout. Joe activated his comm implant. "Buster, you there?" Buster: "Yep, doing some workups on Lab 9. Joe: "You all had 4-H and town rodeos in a little mudslick of a burg you grew up in, right?" "Yep." "Grab a couple of stun rods, the short ones, and meet me out at Section 7 on the perimeter. Leave your suit by the door." "What's up, Bob?" "We got a bunch of wild doggies that need running off." Buster arrived at the perimeter, naked but for 2 stun rods, one of which he handed to Joe.
What's the plan, man? I'm gonna lead this big one over that ridge about a click away and let him loose. After that, we can run them all out a bit further. What are the stun rods for? As these aren't earth cows, they might get uppity of being managed and need an attitude adjustment. Joe started leading the now compliant herbivore towards the objective, with the rest of the herd following the leader. Buster followed along behind the whole group, keeping strays on the path, using nothing more than high-pitched gypsum barks and the occasional direct glare at any wayward herbivore. The observation probes followed the group over the ridge, and that was when Joe let go of the animal's snout and immediately jumped to its nethers, where it slapped the beast while simultaneously letting loose a loud raucous ululation. The aggressive herbivore immediately fell over dead. The rest of the herd took off running and were quickly out of range as the observation probes. Well, shit, said Joe. I wonder if they're any good to eat. The complete accounting of the situation, including raw audio and video incident reports and witness statements, may be found in the Galacticum archive document B0EF5DBF-EE8F-42C1-90A3-9BF36A1D5149. This file carries a warning level 7 for those citizens with predation sensitivities. I hope you've enjoyed this minute look into humanity, and I wish you good luck with your future interactions with humans. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank our T5 Patreon and channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.